And that's what we all need to be. Yes, we had Fulani who'd been in our midst and they were peaceful, but that's not who we're talking about. You guys have seen them coming, be the thousands and thousands and thousands of them that are being brought in here. Last week we saw the video about the Ruga that where they chased away. He said it was what, it was up to now 78,000 acres or whatever it is that he said, 7,000 hectares or whatever, and nobody knows what the people that own the land don't have anything anymore. We're talking 4 million people displaced, right? So we were separate nations. We were not one indivisible, indissoluble. Okay, we're not stupid. Okay, they're unitary Nigeria. We're not stupid. So that we will put such a constitution in place that takes away our right to life. It takes away our right to life. The most common basic thing that a government should protect. That is just not right. So this is a restoration, right, of the nations and their ability to control their assets, take care of their people, progress with what they have, actually enjoy what they have, and not have over 90 million Nigerians living in poverty. Where's all the money going? So, young people, young indigenous Nigerians, wherever you are around the world, be clear on this. You came from a nation that is not unitary Nigeria. You came from a nation in the South and the Middle Belt that is not unitary Nigeria. And don't let anyone talk to you about the fact that this is cessation, this is breaking up. No, it is not. It is restoration. What we have is an aberration, a forced upon us aberration that needs to be corrected. What's wrong is unitary Nigeria. What's right is national, where we have the nations in Nigeria. The multinational Nigeria is the correct Nigeria. That is what Nigeria. This is apartheid. This is genocide. And this is intense poverty for the masses. So Chike, I see that you have raised your hand. So we're going to transition. Before we start talking about the numbers, we're going to transition to a little bit of a discussion, about 5-minute discussion about NINAS, where it's been, and where we are going. So Chike, if you want to unmute, please.
Okay, the reason why I want to talk is for a lot of us to understand NINAS just didn't start. And what led to NINAS started, as Augusta said, 21 years ago. And most people didn't know what was going on, because if they started and IPOB tried to do something and they went underground, that is why a lot of people didn't know what they were doing, because they didn't want to clash with IPOB, and then the same Fulani government will be the one that come to break it up. So they went underground and continued their work. It's only I was working independent until I met Tony in 2012. Something happened, somebody started something in Washington, and it wasn't somebody I could work with. So I decided to step away. 5 years ago, I ran into Tony again, and he told me what happened. And the person that started in Washington was doing a solo, didn't want anybody. Even what he started, I didn't want Tony and the rest of them to get into the website. They had problem with funding. That is how I got involved, providing them funding for what they are doing. I thought there's another way to do it, and I will be able to get money and not disturb that person. So this has been, and that is still going on. What we are doing here is not exactly, a lot of work is still going on in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
That we need to fund, so to say. There are only a few of us now funding what they are doing. Somebody talked about vigilante. A governor in Middle Belt, because of what Nina did, now understand that guns are no longer the prerogative of the federal government. So he said that he's going to arm his vigilante. When other governors do that, that means that they understand, that now they understand what is going on. So if you have a governor, they are supposed to do exactly the same thing. The federal government does not have any exclude because the constitution is now under dispute. All the governors should arm their vigilante, do the same thing and pass law to arm their vigilante. The one on Port Harcourt did the value added tax and it's already implemented in Lagos. When enough states do that, the federal government will collapse when they are not collecting that money. And when you arm your vigilante, those that are coming with AK-47, having a home advantage, lay ambush for them, and because when they are coming, they know they are coming, but they are not. People are not armed.
Okay, if we can just kind of move on to the things that NINAS has done. Yeah.
Okay. What NINAS before NINAS, there was New Nigerian
Movement for Non-Nigeria.
Movement for New Nigeria.
Yeah.
Which was a disguise, so that they wouldn't know what was. They believe they are still working for Nigeria. That is how ALS was able to organize the Middle Belt, organize the West. They first organized the Southeast and South-South, and they moved to organize the others to be on the same page. So that is why it's very important when we are doing things, we are using NINAS, because after they did everything, they did away with New Nigerian, called it NINAS. Let NINAS be our face. That is how we are going to be effective if we are going outside.
Absolutely.
If we are doing LNC or Middle Belt or Dudua, we are dissipating our energy. When we send a message to the world, it should be one message.
Okay, if you can wrap up now, Chike, that would be great.
Not discipline that people, just NINAS. That is what we need to be doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Chike is kind of giving you like a personal perspective as to some of the things that it's done and the things that NINAS has done. But way back in 1999, when this Constitution came out, and we had all the brilliant minds taking a look at this, Inaharo, Olashoyinka, Juku and the rest of them, Tony and Nadi, and they were just like, oh my God, we have lost everything. That's when the battle actually started, folks. They had Pronaco, where they brought everyone together to talk about this, right? And then they talked about the fact that this really could not continue. They had the lawsuit in 2007 and 2009. Then there were the solemn assemblies where the ethnic blocs were rejecting this unitary Nigeria and demanding for their nationhood back. The engagement with the US, we've talked about that. The engagement with the UN, we've talked about that. Engagement with the ICC, that all kinds of groups have engaged into, to be able to get them to issue the statement that they did last year, right? And then on December 16th, they issued that constitutional force majeure. And what that is rejecting, it is rejecting that constitution. It is rejecting unitary Nigeria and demanding for the nationhood to be restored. So that's what NINAS is doing. Now, remember, we all must support NINAS. We all are NINAS. At the same time, we all also belong to our separate blocks. So while we're working with NINAS to see that the message is going out everywhere, we must be working within our own blocks to see that our people are getting ready. Our people need to hear the message, and when it's coming from us, that we're from there, they will listen to it much better, right? So we have dual responsibility, making sure that the freedom that the freedom vehicle is flying high and it is well known and everyone understands that we're under it. So they can't say that we're doing something else. Once you're under the NINAS self-determination umbrella, nobody should be disturbing you. When you're in your blocks, talking to your people, okay? So let's just get that clear. So I'm going to, I've been looking out to see where Dapo, if he has joined us. Dapo, have you joined us?
Yes, I'm here. I just updated my name.
Okay, I'm like, where is he? Okay, you're welcome. So I am going to now ask Citizen AY to come back in so that we can have a conversation. Citizen AY, I'm making you a co-host over here, so that we can have this conversation with Dapo that is going to allow us to look at the numbers, okay? Last week, we looked at the federating accounts and we looked at the criteria that they use, which is land size, local government area, and population. Nothing that actually is an advantage to the South, the New South, and definitely huge advantage to the foreign note. So, Citizen AY, where are you?
Here I am. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, so welcome, and if you can take us on through, that would be great. And that was here.
Sorry, I'll get it up. You want the PowerPoint? Is Dapo running from his end, or am I doing it?
Yeah, I think Dapo, you have do you have the PowerPoint? I have made you co-host so that you'll be able to share that and talk at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's best to do
but
that.
I just wanted you to kind of introduce the topic, Citizen AY, about what we talked about last week and what the numbers and what he's going to be presenting.
Last week, what we left it at was the clever trick done by the North, whereby they put the middle belt and the North together, giving them more land mass, and then using it as a way to now take control of the resources, getting the majority of whatever funds we were getting from whatever oil and other areas. And this is all clever use of numbers and moving things around, and that's why this thing about the states, the creation of the states was perhaps one of the biggest damages done to us. Absolutely. Because it allowed them to now give each of them more local government areas, to give the North more local government areas, and even call areas that are not North. And I mean, this is, when you look at the whole, the numbers will speak for itself. When Dapo begins to talk, you will see the correlation between the numbers and the states, and how the division of those states to favor them has actually and continues to impact us in the South negatively. Though the resources comes from the South. I think that covers it, Vaughn. That pretty much covers it.
One of the things that we actually have not really touched on, and we're going to touch upon this. When you look at the poverty numbers, right? Remember, most of the numbers, most of the money is going to the far north. But where is the most poverty? In the far north. What sense does that make? That now tells you that this money is not going to indigenous Nigerians, but is getting into the hands of the non-indigenous Nigerians. Because if it was staying in the hands of the indigenous Nigerians, why isn't it being used to feed them, to clothe them, to give them, the means to be able to do so, right?
I do have to ask one question in between that. The numbers that they keep giving us in terms of the number of people in the North, I believe that it's very suspect. I have a real problem with that.
Well, we also have a lot of, remember, they've brought in millions of people that are full of needs, specifically, that are not indigenous Nigerians, that were not in Nigeria previously, but have been streaming into Nigeria.
Yeah.
So that's part of the thing. But the numbers, as we know, don't reflect reality.
Jane, can I just chime in?
Go ahead, and then we'll invite Dapo.
Yeah, do you want me to chime in real quick?
Absolutely. That's what I said. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, I asked a question now. He said that that the numbers that they are basically doctored numbers. Well, they need to doctor them, because if they don't doctor them, then they cannot justify why those resources need to be allocated to them. That's number one. Then number two, to your to kind of piggyback on what you said, Jane, about about where the money that they're getting all the money, but it's not reaching the lower, the masses. It's just
the indigenous masses.
It's because their system, their cultural system is more of oligarchy or feudalism, where where the whole, just a few people will be benefiting from whatever is that belongs to the belongs
definitely
to
not democracy.
So the little people, so the people below are just getting the crumbs of it, which is what they are doing to us now in the South, where the majority of the money that should belong to everyone, now they are hoarding them, and then you have just little crumbs are going to even our leaders, our so-called leaders, who should know better, right? They're just getting crumbs. All the Tinubus of the world, they're just getting crumbs. Crumbs, exactly. So so I'm just gonna leave it there. Thank you.
Okay. Ayo, if you want to welcome Dapo, I think he started sharing his screen already.
Yes, welcome on board, my brother Dapo. Please enlighten us. We're waiting with bated breath with the information you're about to present to us.
These numbers look good, Dapo.
They look very
the way you've done
so
it.
please welcome. The floor is yours. Proceed. Thank you very much. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much, and hello, House. It's interesting because last time we did a very big number of slides. We covered a number of things, including VAT, GDP, IGR, and all the other things that make up revenue from Nigeria. But interestingly, I thought today, just to show you how bad things are, let's just focus on one part, and this is the part where most of the injustice is easily visible, right? And we're going to talk about internally generated revenue, which is actually the money generated by the state in terms of taxes. Now, tax revenue is a very big driver. It tells you how the state revenue, how the state is doing. So typically, if your state is able to generate X amount of revenue, it will also be able to contribute X amount of federal allocation. And if it is also generating Y amount of revenue, it also contributes Y amount in terms of federal allocation. Let's not forget that the majority of the federal allocation or the drivers for federal resources are actually southern resources. So I think the top three revenue drivers, the import duties, they are all the ports are in the south. Oil revenue, all the oil mines and oil deposits are all in the south. And then the last one is the value-added taxes. And you can see how contentious that has been in the last few months, with state governors literally taking the fight to the judiciary to have a greater control of their VAT. And the irony about VAT is that, unlike other type of taxes which were agreed to be taken on behalf of by the federal government and shared throughout all the states using a revenue sharing formula that we're going to talk about, the initial understanding for VAT was that the states didn't have the competence and capacity to collect their own federal taxes or their own value-added taxes. But what they did was they told the federal government that a lot of people are afraid of the federal government, so you can go ahead, collect the VAT on our behalf, and when you are done, just send it back to us. And the federal government said, oh, that's an additional admin cost, and they negotiated and they told the government you could take like maybe 1% to 4%, something like that. So there shouldn't be a case where River State will generate 50-something billion in taxes and would only get back maybe 19 billion. It's never supposed to be like that, because it's literally what you generate you're supposed to get back. But as you know, the Sharia territories have been very clever with how they manipulated the system, and they continue to use different type of goal shifting, and they are very intentional with the way they manipulate RMAFAC, which is the Revenue and Fiscal Allocation Committee, which is a way for them to continue to perpetuate the slavery that they've continued to enjoy. But if you don't take my word for it, let us just look at the numbers very quickly. So the Sharia territory, out of 1.3 trillion that was generated in taxes in 2020, 9%, 115 billion approximately came from the Sharia territory, whilst 91%, as you would expect, came from the Alliance territory. This typically tells you how the Alliance territory does, even without the help of the Sharia territory. And this is also because, unlike federal allocation, IGR is generated by the state and is and is kept by the state. There was an interesting conversation that broke out on social media about a particular revenue arm of Lagos State that the Union of Road Transport Workers Lagos State chapter that was generating approximately 1.2 trillion or something in federal revenue, and to that degree, it was generating more revenue than all the Sharia states put together just from NURTW. So let's go 1.2 billion. So let's go back to the numbers. So 115 billion was generated in IGR, while in the alliance territory, 1 trillion 191 billion was generated in the alliance territory, so approximately 91%. But when it came to federal allocation, which is the use of the resources that was put in by the federal government to the states, you can see that 16% was given to the Sharia territory and 84% was given to the alliance territory. So just by looking at that, you can see that the Sharia territory gained an additional 5% in terms of federal allocation, less than what they actually deserve. But because they've been able to manipulate things like population, landmass, which accounts for population, landmass, and equality accounts for 80% of the revenue sharing formula, they actually get a higher percentage of money that they did not work for. So these evidences are very, the examples are all over the place. If you look at the VAT, it's also very similar. And another question we always worry about, people say that how would we survive in terms of by the time the country, economically, how is it going to be stable by the time you have two separate regions? So that would typically be a problem if there was no evidence to prove that a huge part of the southern territory or the alliance territory doesn't already carry the bulk of the GDP. But if you look clearly again at the GDP numbers, you can see that 14% of the GDP of the country comes from the north, or the Sharia territory, while the southern territory, the Sharia territory, while the alliance territory actually owes 86% of the GDP. So if I could help you put it in maybe something you could relate to, if you look at the dollar and said the dollar was trading at 500, a lot of governors or central bank governors, they will try to tell you that, it would be how would the country cope by the time you lose that portion of the country in terms of currency. And that is to simply tell you that the worst that the currency can be devaluated is by 14%, right? Because it's going to lose only 14% of its GDP. So the new currency, the new economy would only shrink by 14%. And compare that with the Sharia territory, they are going to shrink the economy by 86% because they will no longer have the access to the alliance territory that makes up their where they pension or where they perpetuate their existence on. So then that becomes very evident about the need for both regions to understand what is going to happen. So I think if we add that very simple understanding, it can help you really just channel your thinking, especially into
your voice is gone. Your voice is gone. Can you get closer to the mic, please? Very important point. Can you go back and get closer to the mic, please? Thank you.
Okay. Is it better now?
No, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you. It's a bit, you're far away. Can you do something?
What about now?
Now, better, much better. Thank you. Much better.
All right.
Go ahead. Thank you very much.
So what I was trying to explain again is that the worst case scenario that the economy can suffer the shocks, immediate macroeconomic shocks in terms of separation from the Sharia territory, the immediate implications that we can see maybe between a quarter and maybe 5 quarters. That's the first month to 15 months when we're stabilizing after the balkanization. Immediate economic implication is that the worst that the currency can trade off will be around 570 because it's losing 14% of its value. That in itself might look like a big challenge, but you ask yourself, how quickly do we get to 570 anyway? In any case, given the huge loans that we continue to aggregate on behalf of all the regions, both productive and unproductive, and the continuous looting and misappropriation of funds, the sheer fact that, despite the number of years that we've continued to subsidize the Sharia territory, we still continue to have cases where poverty, education, all of these indicators are very different realities for the two territories. So if you look at poverty, for instance, just like you had mentioned earlier, in the southwest of the country, the poverty is bad, but it's just 20% of the population. And if you look at the northwest, the poverty there is about 80%. So it gives you an understanding that these are two different stages of development. There was a particular state that, in a particular year, they only were able to graduate 24 students. That was in Zamfara State. They were only able to graduate 24 students who had 5 credits, including English and Maths. And if you look at the Kano State, for instance, so they had the economic indicators there aren't so very positive, with approximately 3 million children roaming the streets in Amajiri. Wow. And you have a situation whereby 90% of the girls aged between 6 to 18 cannot read and write. So those are real bad economic indicators. And it's literally the economic argument for the balkanization of the country and separation. It makes a lot of sense because it's the only way where the two territories can survive. There's no economic policy that you're going to write for a South that is not going to disenfranchise the North. A clear example is in what we talk about every day, which is the quota system for getting into universities, where a student who score 4 and gets into a university, while a student from the Alliance territory will score 220 and wants to be able to get into the university because it's considered to come from a region that is, economically ahead, and the other region is not. So these are the kind of problems that continue to build up when you try and run two of them together. What we've always known, and what the economists have known, what a lot of people have always known when you look at the data, when you look at how the economics are governed, is that the North is like it's in the first stage of development, and the South is in like the third stage of development. We have the 4 industrial revolutions. The North is in the first industrial revolution, which is an agrarian revolution. The second industrial revolution is the revolution of the steam engines. The third revolution is the revolution of the computer age, and the fourth is the nano chip. And if you look at it clearly, because of our ability to have embraced Western education and our the ability of us to open our economies, so to speak, to be able to get a lot of things from the external world, we've been able to grow very quickly. And that's why you have a lot of VAT generated from industries, because, again, the Alliance territories are able to foster industries. And this is what makes it a growing economy, or attempting to grow economy. These are the indicators that people see and think Nigeria can grow. But when you look at Sharia territory, they're very, very good to integrate education. There's a lot of problems in there. Even the inclusive institutions that will allow their governors to be held accountable, just to loot in mass. So these are the kind of clashes of civilizations between the North and the South. The numbers show it, the revenue shows it, VAT shows it, and the only way to sustain the Alliance territory now is, as a matter of urgency, to fragment it along the 2 separate lines, and have a situation where you have in Korea, the North Korea and the South Korea. The North Korea is a communist state, like they run on communist principles, while the South Korea is a capitalist state and it runs on capitalist principles. And if you look at their GDPs and their economies, it's also very clearly 2 different types of countries. And that is what you see when you look at Nigeria. You can imagine a situation where Nigeria has a GDP of 400 billion and everybody thinks that's a big deal, but actually 345 billion comes from the Alliance territory and 14 billion comes from the Sharia territory. And the Sharia territory actually controls the whole country. So you will never create policies that will immediately, create some sort of economic boom in the Alliance territory, because what it
we're effectively slaves to the Sharia territory.
Exactly, effectively, and there's no way that the Sharia territory, whilst in control of power, would do anything to allow you to prosper into the 3rd and 4th industrial revolution and try to catch up with the rest of the world, whilst they are still trying to live the agrarian revolution. Which is why when you hear their leaders speak, the things that entice them are things like cattle settlement, cattle colony, that kind of conversations you would have had in the 1800s and in the 1700s. A lot of people who are in the agrarian revolution, those are in the industrial revolution, are looking for industrial policies that will help them transit things like cleaner energy. So cleaning up the oil fields will be priority for people who are trying to transit into maybe the 3rd industrial revolution, and find alternative sources of energy, try and foster proper power supply for the country and things like that. But in the agrarian age, the things that take priority for you are probably things you've heard from the extensive, things like cattle colony, grazing routes, and all that other nonsense. And that would only take us closer to Pakistan and further away from maybe advanced countries like US, Singapore, South Korea, and all that, because they are thinking differently and the whole world is thinking differently. with. So I think I've been able to show some numbers now. I'll mute for now, and then we have so many other data, but I think we should be taking it in bits like this so that we digest it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this enlightening data. Modukwe, would you like to say a few things about what you're saying, please?
Yeah, very, very impressive. I mean, the data and the analysis, I mean, superb. I just wanted to, I'm going to add to that, for those of us, and that's for our, or not us, but I'm saying our people, that still embraces one Nigeria. And I just don't know how you will hear this. You will listen to the analysis and still want to be in one Nigeria, because we are not the same. We're not the same. Just like the speaker, the presenter said, that they are like laggards. They are pulling us back. They want to go into the agrarian society like that happened even before my father was born, right? And so they are now saying, like this is how we should live. When people are looking into, people are being born into technology, now. But I mean, it's so appalling. I mean, just the mere thought of it. But I think this really should not only be here; it should be spread around.
Spread about.
Talk about this, especially on our university campuses. On our youth, our youth need to know about this. People need to know about this, because there's no way you will see these numbers, you will hear these numbers, that you will still say, oh, we should remain in one Nigeria. You're stronger together. Some better. What that makes absolutely no sense.
No. You're absolutely right. Let me just, you're honestly well said, Modukwe, and thank you, Gapo, for this great work. It's enlightening. I hope many people will take on this. This is the reality, as against the falsehood that we've been portrayed and has been bombarded with for years upon years. This is the reality that we must hold on to and share. The information here is damning. Now, one of the things that I was on a program, I was on another show a few days ago, and they were asking me, what if we end up, sort of going our separate ways? How are we sure that we as Yorubas or as Igbos and, we will survive? I hope those who ask the questions, I hope they can see the answer right here. I don't have to say anything. The numbers speak for itself. I'm sure you'd agree, wouldn't you? So on mute, please. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The numbers are damning, like you said. I mean, you don't even need to say anything. It's right there. And but being able to get our people to see this and hear the same thing that we're hearing, so that they are not looking at us as if we have two heads. When we're talking about, we need to leave. We need to leave. We need to leave.
Yes.
So
I think I want to kind of put some more light on these numbers, because these numbers just it's not too bad. Well, let's talk about that, right? When you look at the fact that the cost of governing in Nigeria actually gobbles up all of this money, the cost of governance.
Wow.
And when you think about who is governing, right?
Yeah.
Who's actually has charge of this money, right? Because most of this money is going to governance. And I believe Soludo said a few years ago when he was the CBN or whatever, and he said the cost of governing was at 72%. Okay, so take away 72% of this number, and now it's over 80%.
Goodness,
so, you look at it and you think, well, it's not too bad. But then when you think, okay, who is governing, right? When you think about federal character, why is not enforceable? Who is at NNPC? Who is at all the major
customs, petrol?
Where this revenue is actually, who's earning that money? Who's taking that money home? It's not the South.
Exactly.
So we have to kind of overlay that discussion with this here, so that we can get a better feel of what's actually where the money is actually going, right? And don't even get me started about the building the railroad or the road or whatever into Niger or to Morocco or wherever it is that they want to take it to with Nigeria. But don't even get me started on that.
No.
Right?
1 second. I saw that was brought a new slide. I wonder if you could say something about that. Dee, could you enlighten us a little bit about the slide? It can be, I'm sure, be helpful. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. So one question that we always ask ourselves is,
the mic, please make sure that mic is, so we need to hear you clear. Very important, please. Thank you.
Is it better now?
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Go ahead.
One of the biggest questions we always ask is, now we are running this government and things look like
get back to the mic. Okay. Just make sure you stay where you are when the mic is loudest. It's going off again now. Thank you.
All right. So one of the questions people always ask is, was Nigeria always this bad? So what were the dreams of our founding fathers? What kind of economy did they envision for us? You talk about cost of governance now. What was their own governance in their time when we had regional system of government, which was the closest we've had to a balkanized Nigeria? And you can begin to understand like what was obtainable then. So what we did here was we analyzed two specific data. We analyzed Nigeria's exports in 1950s and compared it to the global economy to see what percentage of the world were we controlling in terms of exports. And then we also took a look at how the government was structured. So what was the structure of the budget in the 1950s? And what percentage of the funds was spent on capital expenditure and what percentage of the funds was spent on recurrent expenditure, which is salaries and wages. So let's talk about the first part. So on the left-hand side, we'll talk about what products were we exporting and what kind of effect did they have on the world economy. We're going to talk about palm kernel and palm oil. Approximately, we'll control about 49% of the world's export or world production of palm kernel and 42% of the world production of palm oil. So we were literally very pivotal.
The giants. We were giants.
Impressive.
Giants.
That's impressive, Dapo, given that palm oil and palm kernel has even increased in value today to the world because of its health benefits, right?
Absolutely. And not just that, we pioneered a lot of propositions when we had a kind of economy. What actually gave us an opportunity to be able to position ourselves as world leaders for palm oil and palm kernel and cocoa beans was that what you had then were not ministers of the economy, ambassadors that went to take pictures and all of that. They actually were sent on trade missions and trade expeditions to go and find, a sales outlet for our produce. So Awolowo would send you to Sweden, to Norway, to Germany to go look for opportunities on behalf of the cocoa board to sell cocoa beans and, get good pricing, not just from Europe or not just from the UK, but to European countries. Just suppose that with what you have today, a lot of the ministers or ambassadors that represent Nigeria, they feel like their job is just to collect salaries and print passports and all of that. They actually don't create revenue opportunities for the country. They don't create incentive. Now put that side by side with the Chinese. Every time they come into Nigeria or they come into developing countries in Africa as a whole, the Chinese ambassadors to those countries are going to your president to collect low-performing loans to build useless railway lines to different countries. So they're doing wealth for their countries. On the other hand, your ambassadors and business, they are doing absolutely nothing. So let's go back to the data. Rubber and long-term, we contribute 24% of world production. And if you know what rubber was in the 1950s, it was pivotal to bicycles, it was pivotal to power production, it was pivotal to so many other things. So we were literally in there in the conversation. But if you look at what is happening today, we are nowhere in the conversation. Let's look at the 1959 budget. And this is a budget of 98.9 million pounds in 1959. Compare that with last year's budget of 10.3 trillion. Now, the question to ask is, how was the economy growing? The GDP growth rate. And GDP growth rate in 1959 was 8.4%. Last year, it was minus 0.1%. So, so you can see that in the last 60 years, we've just spent the entire best part of the country just driving it backwards. So everything the founding fathers set up in terms of the structure of the country, the GDP growth, the things that they consider priorities for exports and revenue for the country, we've just continued to fail and fail. And we have gotten to a stage where we've gone from 8.4% to 0.1%. But that's not where it gets even shocking. Now, there are two indicators, capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. So capital expenditure talks about the money that is set aside in the budget for rail lines, for bridges, for infrastructure, power, things that will drive the economy. And then recurrent expenditure basically talks about salaries, right? Now, capital expenditure in 1959 was 58% of the budget, and recurrent expenditure in 1959 was 24% of the budget. Take that side by side to last year. Capital expenditure was only 24% of the budget, while recurrent expenditure, surprise, 47% of the budget. So what we have again is another indication where in 60 years, the government has turned it upside down. When the founding fathers spent more building infrastructure and spent less paying themselves, this current system spends more paying itself, 47%, and only 24% to set aside for even road maintenance, potholes, building schools for a bigger population. So what this also explains to me very clearly is that we have continued to recess. And thank God for economics. It's a very beautiful understanding. It can help you put two economies side by side, and more importantly, it can even put two time periods side by side by virtue of your ability to calculate inflation rate. So what struck me was that 57 million and 2.4 trillion, they look like a lot of money, but I wanted to understand what was 57 million pounds in 1959 compared to Nigeria's currency, considering that every day the naira loses value. I mean, in the 1950s, I think 1 naira was almost $2.40.
Yes.
Today it's completely the other way around. It's about 5.70, 5.40, depending on where I believe. So now, what I now did was I calculated. We took a look at the data for inflation, and in 1959, between 1959 and 2021, the currency has lost 1,844% in inflation. So approximately the budget, 57 million in 1959, is about 105 billion British pounds in 2021, and that means that it was 52 trillion naira that was budgeted in 1959 for capital expenditure. Put that side by side with 2.4 trillion that was budgeted for capital expenditure 60 years later. So what we have done is that we have successfully destroyed the legacies of our founding fathers over a period of 60 years, and that is very important now, because all we can see, all we can hear, the palpitation, the economic indicators, the way, poverty, unemployment, every single thing that should be going in the other direction keeps getting worse. So it's going to get to a situation whereby, the next data, the next time series, 4 or 5 years down the line, these numbers could be even, maybe 60, 70% worse. So it is very important that this constitution is stopped and we just balkanize the country. It is the only way for both nations to survive. Honestly, without any, they might think that they are doing themselves a lot of disservice by holding on to the rest of us, but like I keep telling people from the alliance territory, the worst that will happen to the currency is if we take a time period of 570, the dollar will get to 570 and we will survive. But if we continue the alliance territory, that's the worst that can happen. The Sharia territory on the other hand, because they are losing 84% of their currency, now that currency is going to go to somewhere around 890 something or 860 something. So this is the reason why we must separate so that both nations can begin to rewrite its own economy. I believe strongly that once the Sharia territory is free from the alliance territory, they can decide to not even sell beer, but they will not be able to break beer bottles. There are so many things that they will not now be able to do because they would now need to grow.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Carry on.
So it's all over the place, and this situation also of continuing to bring cousins from Mauritania, from Seychelles, from Mali, from Guinea, from Senegal. Once there is no alliance territory to feast on in terms of resources, in terms of land to grab and all of that, people will start to have honest conversations with themselves to say, well, there was a time we had the oil of the deltas and taxes of Lagos, for instance, we could have afforded to, take you in your millions, but now there's no election to rig, so we don't need you anymore. So that's the only way that region can grow. There's no need to make Western education look bad. If that's the only option for you to civilize your industries, to produce labor force to come and grow your economy, you would build schools. You would not need to go to build schools. You would put people in schools by matter of force. Population control is something that must be done across the whole country. Population control is not a problem for the alliance territory, but it's a problem for the Sharia territory. So which president or which governor can, using which constitution can implement population control in Nigeria when it is the singular most important factor in elections? So, we have so many problems, economic problems, real problems that if we don't solve, we're going to not only overtake, we've already, I think, India's, if you look at India's poor people, they make up 4% of their population. If you look at Nigeria's poor people, we makes up 40% of our population. If we don't take, control of the situation now, I fear that we'll get to a situation whereby the country will be in complete chaos because we would have more poor people. We're currently at 86 million. We're projected to get to 120 million, and our population is projected to triple, which means that we could have as much as 220 million poor people by the year 2100. So it is very imperative, and that will be on a population of 2,286 million, or 786 million. Will be having close to 500 million poor people in the space of Nigeria. The problems continue to grow, population continues to skyrocket, but this is fueled by a religion that is part and parcel of the constitution of the North. So I think that we should be very intentional about solving the problems. The data is clear. I think about infrastructure stagnation. The data is also very clear. So the final question is, somebody mentioned it and I thought to talk on it, is that question, that year-old question people keep saying, and it annoys me. They say that, Nigeria is a big country, 200 million. Why do you want to balkanize the country? We will lose our GDP. So the question I always tell people is it population that makes a country or productive population? And then they freeze. They're like, population. So let me explain it to you, right? Whoa. And we're going to use data. We're going to compare some countries, and then we're going to compare their population and their GDP, and then you can put it side by side with Nigeria. Let's start from South Africa. South Africa has a GDP of 283 billion, but they have a population of 58 million. To put that in context, Nigeria has 4 times that population, and we don't have 4 times the GDP. We barely have 2 times their GDP. Now, if you look at Ireland has a population of 5 million, but they have a GDP of $390 billion. Nigeria has a population of 200 million, so 195 million more people than Ireland, and we have a GDP of 432 billion.
Yeah.
So if you put at Switzerland, for instance, Switzerland has a GDP of 703 billion, so 300 billion more than Nigeria. And they have a population of 9 million, so 190 million less people, 191 million less people than Nigeria. And they're able to generate a GDP 300 more than Nigeria. So this tells you very clearly that GDP is only relevant when your population is productive. You can see very clearly where the productive population of the country is and where the unproductive population of the country is. But that country can never grow if you do not balkanize. If you look at Sweden has a population of 10 million people. Nigeria has a population of 200 million people. Sweden has a GDP of 529 billion. And Nigeria has a GDP of 432 billion. So even in Africa, if you look at so many examples, you'll be shocked that GDP per capita of Nigeria is not doing so well. I mean, we have countries like Botswana, Tanzania doing better GDP per capita than we are. So it's very challenging when you're on the Seychelles, where people go for vacations and all of that. You'll be amazed that GDP per capita, despite the fact that they have 1 million people in population, is much better than that of Nigeria. So
look at New York. It's just one state. Look at that.
Yes. New York has a GDP of 884 billion, twice the GDP of Nigeria.
We really can't look at the U.S. California or Texas. Those are countries.
But we have to.
I understand. I'm just saying.
It's crazy.
Countries.
That's the point. A lot of people think that, having an alliance territory that is not connected to maybe the corner of Sharia territory, that country is going to suffer. You have to constantly paint the picture in their head that even with 40 million, even with 70 million, with 80 million, the country can still be productive. That it's not the population that's much more productive. Exactly, because they are smaller countries which are as small as 5 million people. They have the same brains as us, the same eyes, the same head. In fact, you go to these countries, you find a lot of Nigerians thriving there, mostly from the alliance territory. But the problem is not that they are not be prosperous. The problem is that we are just in the wrong constitution that needs to be stopped. It doesn't foster growth. It only fosters population birthing, because the things that you get revenue for are not things that it doesn't reward you for being productive. It rewards you for having the most land.
Oh, your voice again, please. Close to the mic, please. You're going away. Your voice is going away. Please get to the mic.
Yes. It rewards you for having population and land mass, and it doesn't reward you for productivity.
You need to repeat what you're saying, Adako, because your voice went away.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so like I said, the Constitution does not reward you for productivity. It doesn't reward you for industrialization. Wow. The only thing it rewards you for is population and land mass, and that's in abundance in the Sharia territory, and
local government area, because they've got that lot.
And we know that was rigged anyway under the Babangida, Abacha, and Abdul Salam era. Those three areas, they came and changed everything, and there is no such thing as South. That's all a lie. The indigenous people really does matter. The point that Jane really likes to make, and I want to emphasize that, and that impacts why the funds that have taken away from us, they've used that balkanization of all of those indigenous people into areas to favor them, to oppress us in the South. It's important we understand those numbers and how by moving those things around, they've said, oh, look, there's more of us, and now we're trying to break that down. Dapo, honestly.
I'd like to say something on this. Sorry, this is Dion.
Oh, sorry, okay.
On this, I like this slide on the GDP, but I'm always concerned about when we compare GDPs like this, because, all these countries that we have compared, they have definite ways of measuring their economy. We don't have it in this country called Nigeria. We don't have it. We don't know how many people are in the what we call the informal sector. We don't even have the figures. So those figures, if you add them up to here, it will be better. It does not change the general figure, but it will be better. So let's not be carried away too much. Also, the other thing that we have to remember is that the problem really is the value of the naira. It's a stupid currency that we are comparing with dollar. So we can't compare 500. Which law says that the naira must be 560, 570?
Okay, thank you very much, Dion.
Dion,
I think that
exactly.
Yeah,
I would just like to point out the fact that, you see, when you factor in the fact that in the North, in some cases we've had that they exchange the dollar for 20 naira, whilst we are paying 500 naira to 700 naira in the South. That kind of explains that disparity.
And Malams, right? They're both key. That's why you have they're not. Even there, we're also marginalized. Okay, we bring that up. Even there, we're marginalized. So, it doesn't matter where you look, and again, what I'm saying is that, like these numbers, look great, right? It looks like we're taking stuff in the alliance territory. But again, when you look at who is sitting atop of all those revenue generating areas and who's actually taking the money, then you realize it's really not that much going anywhere, right? It's staying in that in that, less than 1% of the population that's eating 80% of what's coming in, and then the rest of it is going into the infrastructure.
Let me just interject there. Somebody on the screen just said that I don't like to hear the questions and comments made by Dion Odikwe, and that's not the case. We are we want to have discussion. The very idea for NINAS to have kind of discussion like this on a weekly basis is to encourage people to debate and actually share opinions. That way you can move forward. So whoever wrote that, you're very, very much wrong. Jane is happy to listen to things. So is Modukwe, so is Dakpo. We are all here to enlighten ourselves. And to come into this thing with that idea that we're thinking, oh, we don't want to hear different opinions. We need to hear different opinions. That's how you win arguments. So but
let's be clear as to what Dion was saying too. Dion was saying that we should look at it in a different way, but he said it doesn't change the reality of what we're talking about. He did say that. So let's not try to say that Dion is against the information. He isn't. He's saying that the different ones that you can look at it, but he's saying you're still going to get the same result. So that's kind of
absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for that clarification, Dean.
Okay, guys, we are going to come into the end of this, and this is really exciting. Thank you very much, Dapo. As you can see, everyone is really excited by this information because this is what we need to be talking about, and this is where NINAS comes in, right? Because this is what NINAS is about. It's taking the information, breaking it down, and Dapo, obviously, you'll be coming back, to share.
Please, we beg, you must come back.
We still want to know where the loans, the loan money, that's going to be a good one. Where's the loan money going, right? Yeah. But this is what NINAS does, is bringing the information and all of us together, right, in the Alliance territory. We come here every week and we talk about things, we break it down, we have fun, but we make sure that people understand that this is serious. This is very serious. Like Modukwe was saying earlier, guys, you need to be on Twitter. We need to have like 1 million of us on Twitter, tweeting every week. We don't. Yeah. So where is everybody, guys? Yeah. You gotta wake up. The reason why we're doing this is to bring you on board so that we can use the medium that we have in the world today to make this very so that the world can hear. Where's all those TikTokers? Where are the young people? Young people, TikTokers, we need you to take our information and do those TikTok things and get it everywhere. What about Instagram, right? Yeah. Instagram, Facebook, we need everyone's hand on deck. And as Chike mentioned earlier, you can't fight freedom with stones. It needs money. So please, you need to go to NINAS Voice, that's NINAS Voice, VOICE.org, and please donate and make it monthly, okay? If you want to donate $10 monthly, 20, 100, some people can even donate 5,000 monthly because they're making a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. Please do so because this freedom fight takes money. Protecting our people takes money. So everyone needs to be doing their part, right? We need folks who are going to make videos. We need folks who are going to write articles that will go into papers. We need folks who will host these shows. We need to have 1 or 2 of these daily going on, okay? And we've got lots of people who've got the voice, they've got the personality. I mean, come on, we can get you set up, and you can have every day of the week, we need to have 1 or 2 going on, okay? So everybody has something that they can contribute. And we're asking everyone to contribute. Learn the information, go out to NINAS, NINAS Voice, VOICE.org. Go out to NINAS FFN, NINASFreedomFromNigeria.org. Mm-hmm. Go to freedomfromnigeria.com. There's lots of places for you to get to information, okay? So we're just urging everyone to get involved because it's the people that will lead us to the freedom, okay? Knowledge is power, and power is freedom, and people are the ones that take that freedom. So Ayo, if you can round up, and we'll be done for today.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to first of all thank Dapo and of course Jane and Modukwe and everybody who spoke. Look, it's important to state this. we all matter in this struggle. Every single Southerner matters. You watching me, you have a role to play. Please volunteer yourself for this struggle. That is the only way we can defeat this thing. It's the only way we can defeat the Fulani aggression brought into our land. Remember, they are oppressing us in our land. So we need to encourage our people. The knowledge we're sharing here, the reason why we're sharing this knowledge is to encourage you to have the confidence to believe in the future of the Southerners without the oppression of the Fulanis on our necks every single time. We
This is barbaric. The 2023 election is an agent of death and humiliation and marginalization.
It's sickening.
Absolutely crazy.
It is so shocking. So I wanted to state that point. Right now, when I said at the beginning of the show, when after you brought me on to talk, Jane, I mentioned about that we need to participate. We need vigilantes. I am serious. Now, they go into churches. The week before, they abducted 3 more people in another church. So they are targeting the churches. So tonight, we are telling everybody, stop doing your night vigils, please. Stop. You are leaving yourself open to attack. You are leaving yourself open to be raped. Every single person, you're a woman, if you're going night, please rule out night vigil. You are not safe in contraption Nigeria.
I think this is, if you recall what retired T.Y. Danjuma said in 2018.
Yes.
And it was replayed by, unfortunately, the late Melafia, some other people.
Yeah.
And he said very clearly, right? He said very clearly, the military are not neutral. He said they collude.
That's it.
They collude with these people. It was very clear about what he was saying. And he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And we have seen it unfolding day in, day out, day in, day out. How is it possible that a government cannot condemn or contain his kinsmen? Okay? The Fulani herdsmen are going about killing, raping, maiming, And Buhari says nothing, does nothing.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, oh, is this Sheikh, whatever his name is, Gurme talking about, oh, they have families. Oh, they have families. But then they're destroying and killing other people's families. Okay? And nothing happens to them. And they even take the Boko Haram terrorists and put them in the armed forces.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
The ICC. Look at the report from the ICC. Boko Haram and the Nigerian armed forces are committing crimes against humanity. As against indigenous Nigerians that rise to the level of war crimes. That's what we're talking about. It's rising to the level of war crimes.
It is. It is.
I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So,
yeah.
Jean,
go ahead.
Before we leave, if you can just, kind of maybe in a sentence or two, tell us how we as a group, everyone here and those on the forum, how we can be more, how we can have all hands on deck. Not just like watching, but also doing. So you can actually, there was an example from earlier today. If we, where somebody wanted to, bring something to, some kind of news, and then you went onto Twitter, and I thought it was a very good thing. That's why I'm saying it, okay. Right? So that we can all emulate that. You went on Twitter and you actually put that news on there, and then you had people, and then you came back and put a link on the forum to say, people, people can go and follow that. And I've even done that with you, Ayo, as well. Yes. I've seen some of the things I tweeted out and I've responded to it. So I think if we can describe to the people and we can actually, make it clear to them, that these are these are the steps that you can take to participate and also, be active in this, on this regarding this cause or this, I don't even know.
In our struggle.
It's initiative or whatever, so then it's going to be, please.
We keep repeating this day in, day out, okay? The world is on social.
We need to continue to repeat it.
I know, every time, and that's why I mentioned it earlier, that you had mentioned it, and we're mentioning it again, Citizen AY had mentioned it, we have to be on social media, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's, a lot of them, especially for the people in the diaspora, because we have the ability to be able to be on social media, right? And the example that Modibo is given is, I tell everyone, right? WhatsApp, it's us on WhatsApp. Stop sending all these messages to all the different platforms. We're on it already.
Yeah.
Take your message, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook.
Outside.
Take the link and post that link and ask people to go and retweet it.
Yeah.
Let's take action and stop the talk action. We're always talking. We need to do.
Action.
We need to act. Exactly. We need to do that, And like I said previously, there are lots of things that we can do. Write to your lawmakers, in whatever country you are. It is germane. They need to support us, right? Doesn't matter where you are. In the U.S., you got to write to your lawmakers, whatever country you're in. Write to your lawmakers and have them support the indigenous Nigerians to get their freedom, right? So we've got lots of writers, send your articles to the newspapers. You can do that around the world. We need that information. You know what I mean? So there's lots of things that we can do that's practical.
Yeah.
Practical things that we do. When we have a march, show up. Show up for the marches, right? When we have a virtual march, show up.
And I want to say one more thing. It's the question too, because some people will say just writing and going to UN and doing all of this does not work. So can you kind of enlighten us on why we're doing this? Because if we don't know why we're doing something, we will not be energized to continue to do it. So
absolutely. I think people don't, and the only example I'm going to give to people is this one. George Floyd in the US. And all it took was people sharing, people saw what was happening and took the videos from all different angles to show that this person is killing this person deliberately. And then they had the courage to post it out everywhere. And so when people saw this, the outrage was not just in America, people.
Around the world.
Europe, Asia, Africa, everybody got up. And so when they stand up and say, oh, marches doesn't work and, getting information out there doesn't work, that's a great example of where it was resounding. Everybody got to see it and everybody cringed and acted to do something. If it isn't successful, right, then the Black people in America would never have gotten free.
Yeah.
Because that's what MLK did.
Yeah.
They marched and they marched and they spoke and they spoke and they used the tools in their day to make their point and to see that they were on stage all the time. Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians, that's what we need to do. Okay? We make these comments. Where are your facts?
Yeah.
Where are your facts?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Until the world gets to see it. Because pay attention, people. Nigeria has ambassadors in all the countries. Yeah. Ambassadors like Buratai. What is Buratai telling the country people? What is he telling the people there? Is he telling them that Nigerians, that indigenous Nigerians are being killed? He's not telling them that. Is he telling them that churches are being burned down? He's not telling them that. Is he telling them that women are being raped, right, in front of others, that they're being kidnapped, and the government keeps paying money to that, and the government does not condemn these acts or prosecute these people? Is he telling them that Miiti Allah and the Fulani herdsmen are not labeled as terrorists? What is he telling them? If you don't speak, no one is going to hear our story. Yeah. We need to drive our own narrative. That's it. And that's what Mutubu is talking about. It's our narrative. Yeah. And it's you and I that must drive that narrative. So if you're not using the tools that are available today, then what are you doing? Yeah. And then on the ground, all of us here that know this, because when I speak to people on the ground, a lot of them don't know what's going on. You got to connect with your school alma mater. You got to connect with the, with your professional groups. You got to connect with your churches, with your family, with your villages. Tell them what's going on. You've got to let them know what's going on, because everyone says, oh, it's only the people in the diaspora. They don't know what's going on in Nigeria. No, we know what's going on in Nigeria. Yeah. We look at the newspapers, we see the videos, and we authenticate them. We work with NGOs that have the real information. Amnesty International, Amnesty Nigeria, right? They're in Nigeria. They have this information. The UN itself is publishing the number of people killed in Nigeria. The UN itself. Wow. Where are they getting those numbers from? Are they making it up? Is the ICC making up the numbers when they did war crimes? Are they making it up? It's real. But do our people know that happened? They don't. We have to get the information to them, right? And we have to have the world see that information. Just because it was in the paper once doesn't mean that everybody saw it. We got to push it out there over and over and over and over and over and over again until it's heard. That's what we have to do.
One more thing.
Can I?
Yeah. Okay. Dapo, go ahead. Let me hang on.
Yes, I just wanted to talk about, if you look all over, a lot of people don't know that diaspora and there has to be a connection. If you look at, just take 3 countries in Africa, self-determination conversation for balkanization of African countries is something that is even fundamentally derived from the 1886 Berlin Conference, where countries were put on friendly neighbors. If you take 3 examples, in Cameroon, the Ambazonians, they're fighting for their own self-determination to be free from the larger part of Cameroon. That's the English-speaking part of Cameroon wants to be separated from the French-speaking part of Cameroon. Yes. If you look at South Sudan, that just recently got their own nation. Even in the smaller nation, there are 3 separate groups. The Dinkas, the Nuers, and the Equatorials. And the 3 of them are also trying to have a conversation with the Dinkas, trying to hold the rest of the 2 ethnic nations, which is the Nuer people and the Equatorial people together, and they are saying they want to also exercise their right to self-determine and manage their own territory. If you look at what is currently trending today, everybody is talking about it. The situation that is happening in the Horn of Africa, where the Amaras, the Tigrayans, and the Oromos are fighting for their own self-determination, and the Oromos are actually winning their determination, so much so that it is rumored that the Abiy has fled the country, and they're taking over the capital, and they are trying to take their own country.
Exactly.
So there's revolutions sweeping across Africa. The Northern Revolution has happened, and it's looking like the rest of Africa is actually catching on to that revolution. And the immediate effect will be that a lot of countries will be supported by the international community to exercise their right to self-determination. So if we do not want to have a situation whereby when Nigeria's turn happens, we don't win our referendum, we need to make sure we're intentional about disseminating disinformation so that we can reach a critical mass before it gets to our turn to vote for freedom. So this freedom requires you more than you know it, because a lot of people are sleeping in Nigeria, and they need to wake up, and they need to be well awake, because what is happening in Ethiopia today, if the Oromos had not done a good job to sensitize their people, the US would have come and said they are fighting a war against their government, or they are trying to liberate themselves from their government. But today, everybody understands that what is happening in that country is just simple self-determinations. The Tigrayans have done it, they've left them. The Eritreans have done it, they left them. The Oromos are now doing it to leave the Amaras. And the Amaras are like the Fulanis, they're hell-bent on holding the rest of the country back. But those people actually have their own self-determination, and they're exercising it, even in their constitution. So Nigeria is a whole lot behind, because we've been sleeping for so long. When it was balkanized, we were asleep when it was meshed together as North and South. We've been asleep and giving them free money to subsidize their oligarchy and hegemony over the rest of us. But now we are waking up, and the diasporans that are awake, you have a huge burden. You know what a normal civilization is supposed to be, and you know that what is obtainable in Nigeria is absolutely not correct. So you have to be very take the burden, because you send some people some videos sometimes, and they will tell you that, I didn't know this is happening. You're so frustrated, but you have to understand that a lot of people are sleeping. And at different people, when you're trying to wake them up, there are some people you touch them once and they wake up. Some people you touch them 2 times, they wake up. Some people you slap them 20 times before they even turn to accept that you're trying to wake them up. That is the situation with a lot of Nigerians in Nigeria. So don't be surprised when you send things to people and they're like, they don't even understand, they don't connect with it. A lot of Nigerians are sleeping, and you must be. Because when it gets to the stage of referendum, being asleep or being awake, it becomes a propaganda by the government trying to say that don't vote to leave Nigeria, vote to stay. So we have to make sure that we have been able to sensitize everybody to reach that critical mass that is going to be able to achieve the results we know is correct for the country. If not, we would end up like the Scottish people that lost their referendum. We must be like, we must win our referendum, we must win our fight. And we can do it is that we must be intentional. Everybody must take it as it, because each one teach one. Just like the Black nationalism movement of the 1950s in America, just think of it as your own contribution, that sensitization, that extra effort to retweet, to share a banner, to share an information. You just drag somebody for meeting, that will drag another person for meeting. Before you know it, you're reaching a critical mass, and that information is moving organically. That's the one the government cannot stop. We go on these channels, television, everything is paid propaganda. They will continue to recycle the nonsense that you can control. The real truth is out here, and we must be very intentional about sharing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Jane?
Imoro do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah. Imoro, do you have a comment or question? Let me add him to the call.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving me a chance. We have been talking about these things and these atrocities, and they're despicable, they're horrible. And these things have been going on for years. And definitely, NINAS is doing something that's positive and productive. But you know what? I mean, the speaker before me was talking about the Ethiopians. They are not just doing something necessarily in terms of using social media, they are fighting. These Fulani people, they don't understand anything maybe more than force. Because when you look at it, when they... No, please, let me just say what I have to say, because I'm a Christian and I believe in peace. But you see, when you see these people going to churches, they're killing people, they're raping women, they're doing evil. And they will continue to. They've been doing it for years. And my concern is that how they're going to be stopped? Is this just the way they're going to be stopped? Because they're not listening. The government in Abuja is not a friend to the people of the South.
Yeah.
And we've got to be, I mean, talking about the ambassadors and all these people, they don't care. They're not going to help us. Anyway, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but it is troubling. It is very troubling. And if the Fulanis were losing some of their compatriots or the people who are doing all these atrocities, if they were getting casualties, they would think twice about what they've been doing. Thank you.
Well, I think that's what I was saying is something that we were talking about earlier, as Ayo talked about the fact that we now see the in Middle Belt, where I'm from.
Yes.
From Benue. Yes. And our governor is making it clear because, we've been asking the question, come on, governors, pick up the federal government says it can't protect your people. There's nothing holding you back from arming your security forces to stop these people. The government has failed because the minister came out and said they cannot support you.
Yeah.
Right? They say they cannot protect the people, which is the primary objective of the government. The government has failed. It's not failing. It has failed. Abjectly. It has failed in protecting the people. It has failed in holding those that are doing it responsible. So the governors need to stand up. Because what's going to happen if people start, because they went around and took guns from people. Yeah. If people now take guns, and the police is going to go door to door again and killing people. Okay, that's the risk with that. And then you have more killings than what you have currently. But each governor, like the governor in Benue, need to say about their security, I'm going to arm the security, and they're going to stand against these people. Period. Yeah. The lawmakers need to stand up and do what they're supposed to do for their people. They all need to do so.
That's correct.
So, Jane, let me just also add to what to what you said, and then in response to Emoral's prompt or statement. So that that these people, the Fulanis are very barbaric. And they are committing all of these atrocities, and that, talking is not going to, basically, solve the problem. Actually, the problem is multifaceted. So what is going on is that some people are sponsoring those people to do that. Mm-hmm. So, and you will not fight those ones that are sponsoring, with boots on the ground, right? So by sensitizing our people, who are local, those people they will know how to, they will now be prepared to, to defend themselves. That's that. But then what about those who are sponsoring them, who they cannot fight with boots on the ground? So that's where you and I will now go ahead and be doing what we're doing so that we're tackling those ones over there.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if that makes sense, but
it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I will just re-emphasize the point that Jean made and what Modukwe made as well. The fact that what Autumn did was to amend the bill, amend the law. He amended the law in Benue. We are not asking the governors in the South. We are telling them, you must amend that law. Follow the same procedure by Governor Autumn. Amend the law. You have the powers. You've been saying for years now, we haven't got the powers. Well, you've seen one of your governors step up. He's had enough of the killing of his people. Every governor in the South, you are on notice. We need you. No more talk. We want to see that action. You empower your people to protect themselves. Vigilante groups, with legal guns, legalized. Because what the government is doing.
Exactly, because that's what's important. So they can now say that, and start killing people just because of that, because that's what they're going to do.
That's it.
The Minister for Defense came out and said he cannot defend the people. The government has failed. What are we talking about here? If you cannot defend the people, why aren't the governors defending us? Yeah. They need to be defending the people because the federal government has said they can't do it.
Yeah.
So you need to arm your vigilante groups. You need to get some strong security to protect your people.
Indeed.
You've got the money.
So we will be. So I think one of the things we should all do. Emoro, 1 second. One of the things we should all do is I think we should urge everybody. Don't wait for us to tell you. Start getting to your governors. Start telling them. Send them the video of Governor Otom. In each state.
We have them all on Twitter. They're all on
Twitter.
Twitter
To all of them on Twitter. Start look, take the action. Let's all make that an action. I will be doing something as well. You'll be seeing something that I'll be putting out, and that's what we need to do.
You initiate something on Twitter, and we all go for it.
Okay.
You know what?
That was intense.
Every week from here on now, every week, right after this program, we're going to spend 30 minutes. And everybody will join, and we'll go on Twitter and tweet together.
That's it.
So I expect, next week, that's November 13th, right? And we're going to send out the meeting invite for that as well. It's going to be a Twitter, it's going to be the Alliance Twitter day, right after this. Because we have to do something. We got to stop this thing.
Let's hear from Emoro, because I think you want to say something. Go ahead, Emoro.
I want to say something.
Oh, sorry, not Emoro. Okay, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
By bringing up what the governor of Benue State did, it's exactly why I did it. Because the first measure was to free them to do what they need to do.
Absolutely.
And the governor got that because he had a one-on-one conversation with somebody. That's why he was able to do it. If you tell every governor to do that, Nigeria, the Fulani will stop the nonsense they're doing.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. That is it.
That's what we need
exactly.
to do.
So we need to get on.
Nigerians.
You have a
That's
task
what we need to do.
That's the task for everybody.
That's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
They have no excuse now. Remember when the Southwest, after they had consulted with NINAS, they took on open grazing, remember?
Indeed.
And Ella screamed, the government screamed, and the governor told them, you better come talk to us.
Yeah.
And then when they came and talked to them, they were like, oh, well, we need to, let's work it out. They went from, screaming to, because we're on our land, right?
Yeah,
we're nations.
Exactly.
We're nations. You can't just come in and be killing our people and get away with it. So all the governors, we're calling all the governors in Alliance territory, do your part. We're calling the senators, we're calling on the House of Reps. You guys need to do the work that the people are paying you to do, overpaying you to do. But you need to do your part. Okay, you need to stand with your people. And not with the people who are killing them.
That's it.
Okay, you need to open your mouth, you need to go into the laws, and you need to protect your people, period.
That's it.
The federal government says it cannot protect your people.
It's your job. You're the chief security officer. Do it.
It's their duty. It's their duty to do it.
Let's tweet this.
Yes,
let's tweet it.
We're going to do it. When we finish, we'll be doing that straight away. So,
absolutely. Now, remember, everyone, tell your friends. We're going to have Twitter Saturday.
Yes.
At that time, we're going to send out the Zoom meeting invitation. Everyone needs to get it everywhere because we need thousands of people coming together and tweeting at the same time. We need tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and we need to start and keep building it up. Okay, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you.
But it was a great discussion. I'm going to figure out how to kind of break this for today because there was a lot of great conversation into smaller bits so that we can send it out, and post them out separately as well, in addition to posting the whole thing. So people will get to see, different portions of what we did today because there was a lot that we got covered today.
Very much.
Everyone, thank you for doing Citizen AY. Always good to have you. I'm really excited that you are that you're on here. Chike, thank you. Emoro, Dion, thank you for your comment over there, and obviously Thomas, really excited.
Dapo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I said Omoba is here too.
Yes,
she's very
But Thomas really brought that perspective because Thomas is from the middle belt where his people are being killed.
Yeah, that's true.
For a while.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas.
Because they're trying to break through. If you guys recall the history and what's white history, the middle belt stopped this invasion.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they've been taking the brunt of it. And so a lot of people say, oh, where's the middle belt? Where's the middle belt? Well, the middle belt has been shouldering they've been taking the brunt of being the fact that they're the ones that are stopping their movement to the south. Okay, so we need to, again, this is an alliance. It's not asking where's the southwest, where's the southeast, where's the south. No, we all need to work together, right? We all need to work together. That's what's key, okay? That's what's very, very key. So again, thank you all very much. At the same time, next week, you know, I'm sure we'll have a new cast of characters.
Yes.
We always
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Omoba.
Thank you. Yeah, you have to come on. You gotta come on.
I see you.
Thank you so much.
Spoken yet.
I know. I came very late.
So let's put everybody on.
Speaking part now, which means you gotta learn stuff and you gotta come share it here.
I know. I came very late. I was taking care of my little one. My wife
great dad.
What I'm talking about is that you need to join a platform so that you can be part of the presenters, because what we do is we get our people prepped, and then that way you can be presenting, and hopefully we'll be able to get you to have your own show, you know, like a half-an-hour show, you know, one day.
Okay,
Yes,
I'll do that.
That's it. You can't say no now. When the beautiful lady is asking you, you can't say no, I'm afraid.
I can say no, yeah.
No, you can't say no. No, you can't say no. So that's where we need to get to, guys. That's what we need to get to. We need to be on 7 days a week.
Yeah, you're right.
Always have a show. And then maybe we'll go to 2 shows 7 days a week. Then we have 3 shows 7 days a week. That's what we need to have goals, and we need to keep building on it. Deshola, I see you over there. And yes, you need to be out speaking as well. You need to be a presenter. So we're just going to start, you know, getting people in their timelines, and, you know, Citizen AY and I will be there to support. Madupe will be there to support when we launch your program and get it going. And that's
Mr. Faleti is here too. He's quiet as well all day. I didn't realize he was here.
About that. And Dapo, with your numbers, we need to have a show that's just dedicated every week to all the numbers.
We will.
Talking about federal character, and then we're just going to call it, you know, Nigeria about the numbers. You know, so that our people, that's just going to be focused. That's it. Every week at a certain time, we're focused on the numbers. Okay, we'll bring lots of people to talk about it. And as you know, the statistics stuff that we're gathering, this is when it becomes very important, right? That's
so let's not forget the tweet. All the governors, everybody, all here, outside, around the world, in diaspora, southerners, tweet your governors. They must act now to put an end to this. They must sign the bill. Follow the lead of Governor Autumn. That is the message. Follow the lead of Governor Autumn.
So we're going to go out there, we're going to tweet it, and we're going to blast it in other platforms, and we expect all of you to be out there retweeting. And this is important. You know, this is very, very important. And we need to get some kids to start doing some really, you know, TikTok. TikTok is going, you know, it's going through the young people. So we're going to get some young people doing some TikTok stuff for us. And you guys should expect to start seeing it within a week or 2 where those are going to be out there. Okay? Okay, guys. Thank you all very much again, and have a great weekend. And remember, next week, this show comes up 7 p.m. Nigeria time.
Which is
and then after this program, which is about 2 hours, we'll go into Twittering. So we expect hundreds of people to join us. So we're going to set up the meeting invite, and everyone needs to send it everywhere on Clubhouse, on WhatsApp, send it out on Facebook, post it everywhere, on Twitter. You know, everyone needs to come and be a part of that inaugural, all of NINAS Twitter session. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.
Bye. You can unmute and say hello to each other.
Okay.
Bye, Thomas. Thank you very much. Stephen.
I'm on end the program on here now.
Bye now.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.